Hey guys, welcome to new market update. So we've skipped the last week because I was on holiday, but a lot has happened because ETH went insane, and we did get a small shakeout on BTC and other coins, but overall, not too much going on here in terms of BTC. We did shortly retest the previous all-time high. I highlighted this on Twitter or X when this happened, that this was a very clean retest. Generally, you don't see them like this. It either goes a bit deeper or it just front runs it. So the fact that we got this was very clean, was a nice trade setup if you were there. Obviously, from here on out, it's a good invalidation level, this 1012 or 112k level. I would not want to see us go back down below there to retain the bullish momentum in the short to midterm. Sure, like if we go down here, like it's still fine in the larger or on the larger time frame. But generally, you want to hold these kind of retests because now we made a nice higher low. We can consolidate here a bit and hopefully then push back above 120k. There's still a lot of liquidation levels or stop losses sitting right around these lower highs. So if price were to decide to push there, I think there should be enough fuel. But good to note that obviously if ETH is running and doing crazy moves and alts are running, that will weigh down on BTC a bit because every dollar put into ETH, for example, is a dollar not put into BTC potentially. So that's also why towards the later stage of the cycle, you do tend to see altcoins do well, and that will eventually also kill the cycle because BTC doesn't get enough bid and starts rolling over, etc. But I don't think we're quite at that stage yet, as altcoins are really just starting to move, but we'll head to those in a bit. As for now, the very short term, obviously I'm recording on Sunday. We moved around a bit. The CME close price is at like 116 something. Not expecting too much here on BTC. So by the time you're seeing this, we'll probably still trade around this area, I'd assume. Don't think we're going to open with a massive gap. I will say that if BTC were to start trending back up, back into price discovery, then you do tend to see big moves happen during the weekends. Then you get some of these big breakaway gaps or liquidation cascades of shorts during the weekend. You get these massive gaps. And usually when they're quite large, like 5 or 10%, it does happen every now and then in a weekend, then they often don't get closed at all or like until maybe months later. So unless the gap is like really close by after the weekend, like 1 or 2%, I wouldn't value them too much. But if they're close by, then usually you get a fill and then price does what it wants to do after. Against the S&P, kind of just holding steady here. Not too much going on. Against the dollar, we're not really in price discovery. We're right at this resistance. And then obviously the doodle is still pretty damn accurate, which is interesting. Total market cap. We did have a bit of a scare here, obviously, because we broke out to new all-time highs. We traded back below this range. This was not a great sign in the short term, but luckily we retook it and now we got a few daily closes above. Same here as BTC at 112. I wouldn't want to see price trade back down below here. I think that would be bad to be back in this range. And from here on out, it should just keep going if it's bullish. Total 2 market cap, so this is everything excluding BTC, did just sweep the highs. So yeah, not great short term, but if you do something like this, that's perfectly fine. We're yet to break 2024 highs and the all-time highs here. I do think also really go crazy the moment we do break into new all-time highs. Should be led by ETH, and ETH is doing great. This is everything excluding BTC and ETH. Bit of a different story, not the cleanest here. Same here. If you go to new all-time highs, that should really kick off some few weeks or at least of altcoin outperformance. And then we have ETH. We did finally broke out of these cycle highs, so we had a lot of attempts here and we finally managed to break it. Like here I think was the ETF which was getting priced in, also stopped at 4k, then later post selection also at 4k, and now we finally broke above. Obviously would not want to see this and it remaining down here, but we might get something similar to what we had at the total. Seeing this was a weekend move for now, so would not be surprised to see something like this. People will start getting bearish and then you get a real breakout, for example. But generally, I do think this should be heading to its all-time high, whether it's or sooner than later. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get into rallies like these if you're not either holding spot or already in a position. I've been going in and out of some ETH longs here and there, obviously closing too early. But I do think if you wait for these intraday flashes, for example, like down, or this was of course the recent dump during the weekend, these kind of opportunities are what you should be looking for in an uptrending market like this. It's still like a 15% decline. It's pretty large. This was one. You're gonna get more of them along the way. But besides that, I think holding spot is just the safest thing on these things. Mark out your take profit levels before. Don't get into these positions and then at some point it pumps or dumps and you don't know what to do or you don't have an invalidation. So always get those ready. But yeah, I think this is pretty exciting for ETH and for alts in general. Finally broke above this level, highest level in nearly 4 years. Just need to see it continue here. Ideally, like these kind of breakouts, multi-year breakouts, they should lead to higher prices. And if not, that's going to be a warning signal of itself. These e-treasury companies are buying like crazy. They're still trending up and their premiums are still very healthy, I think. I think they're still going up as well. So that means they can just keep buying, similar to how MicroStrategy did it. They're buying at a much faster pace. So obviously that's not sustainable, but as long as we keep trending like this, it's gonna be fine for them. So keep an eye on those, as those are primarily driving price right now. And yeah, I think the world or like retail is gonna wake back up and see all these coins moving, see ETH maybe at all-time high relatively soon, and that should really help other coins as well. So Binance Coin, extremely strong this cycle. I'm not trading this at all, but I'm mostly watching this. Like if this were to continue into like the 1K area, I do think the Binance Smart Chain, the chain itself, the on-chain activity could really start flaring up again. So could be a good one to watch. But as for the coin itself, it's nice if you're holding this spot or something, but not really something I want to trade right now. Litecoin is one that I highlighted before, and then it ran up a lot. And I think like somewhere last week, I think it was this candle down here where we actually sold off. It was announced that another treasury company was founded, and they bought like 100 million of Litecoin. Obviously, on the announcement itself, they said they bought, so the buying already happened, and then we dumped a bit. I think there was this candle. Do think if they obviously keep buying, keep raising cash, that this could really set up for a decent move. This has also been going sideways for like 3-4 years. It's one of those dino coins with barely any inflation. So yes, there's blocks being mined, but it's so little that if you get these treasury companies buying up hundreds of millions, price is gonna move. And yeah, besides that, I don't think people actually really have, or there's actually a lot of demand for Litecoin, for example, but doesn't mean it can't move, especially with a chart like this. You break this cycle high, and I think you can really make these kind of moves in a matter of weeks or something, which is quite substantial for a coin like this. Then we have Pump. A lot of people have been losing money on this, just trading this, longing this all the way down. I barely traded it, and I'm very happy about it. It's still trading below its ICO price. They're doing a lot of buybacks now. I would assume at some point it pumps again, which is funny because the ticker obviously is Pump, which is still a great ticker. I'm mostly watching here for potential breakout. Like let's say we get something like this. I think around this area I'd be interested in a long. I mean, you're still below ICO price. I do think eventually they'll squeeze it up, but might take some more time. For now, not really interested in this. You have Tau. I do still think at some point it's going to take out this 500 level. We've touched it so many times. It's all these equal highs. There should be a lot of stop losses above there. We just had GPT-5 being released from OpenAI or ChatGPT. And Nvidia is at all-time highs. Like all these things, I don't think the AI narrative is going to die at all. This is now consolidated in this range roughly for like 3-4 months. I do think we'll get an AI run again, and Tau was the leader back in the day, and I do think it will lead again. I think even things like Altcoin can do well, but I think Tau should be the first thing people dive back into if there's an AI narrative that catches back on. So then there's another coin I bought into recently, which is Inspect, which is a layer 2 for Tau. I actually was an investor in this back in the day, and they were doing something else. They rebranded. Now they're L2 on Tau. So being bullish on Tau, I think this being a beta of Tau could really make some crazy moves. For now, it's range bound. Obviously, keep in mind liquidity is kind of low. It's a smaller market cap, and it has moved a lot. You can see the volatility here. These moves are quite crazy. So treat it as like a lower market cap sort of lottery ticket. The big level here to break would be this range high. I think then it could set up for a move back to this previous support. It might seem we're close, but if we go to the regular chart, this is the actual situation. So you can see there's still a lot of room to move. Obviously, I don't want to see trade below the range low. But yeah, a lot of these coins we've seen launch somewhere last year, then they fell a lot of unlocks have happened during this time, bottoming process, and then some catalyst or rebrand, whatever, and it actually starts running back up. But these are the coins that will potentially, they can retrace like months of downside in a single week or something, like you've already kind of seen here. So keep an eye out for charts like these. I think at some point the stupid things are just gonna keep happening, and I don't think there's any perpetuals or anything on this yet, so that's generally a good thing if you want to have a strong move up when it's only spot based. Moving on, we have PENDLE. I think this is still a very strong looking chart. It's probably gonna go to the recent or the range highs and the all-time highs. At that point, you do want to see continuation higher, of course, and overall, this has just been really strong TVO growth. It's really one of the main players in the DeFi space right now. And of course, Ethena, probably the coin I've been most bullish on in my portfolio the past few weeks or months. I think I've bought into this somewhere around 36, 37-ish cents. I don't know exactly. Shared it at the time, shared more things about it, and upon this range breakout retest, it really started a nice continuation. Their stablecoin has grown to like 10 billion or so because obviously the market has been heating up a bit, so funding rates have been going up. And what their stablecoin does, it basically farms the basis, so farms the funding rates. Won't get into that too much here, but yeah, they've been seeing good growth, good revenue growth. Overall chart has been strong, and they really got this central player in their founder, which has been getting pretty loud about their growth and stuff. And that's generally what you want to see on these bigger projects if you want to have a good rally. I mean, even things like Luna, for example, it wasn't great. Their system was flawed, but having this central figure in terms of Do Kwon back at the time, he's just gonna shill his project everywhere. Like, it does help in these bull markets, and it does really make your project stand out and do well. And obviously, at some point, this is gonna top out. It's gonna come down. It's gonna go down 90% or so in the next bear market. But until then, these are really strong contenders for outperformance. So that's something to look out for. Then we have Home, which has just steadily grinded up. We're doing great in this competition. We're 34th now with the faction. So if you are not familiar with it, it's DeFiApp. It's what I use to trade my perpetuals now. It's tied to Hyperliquid. And while you're doing anything on there, swapping, trading, you earn this XP. And when you end up in the top 50 of factions, then you'll get a real big bonus airdrop. So anything or everyone in the faction will now qualify for that if we end up in the top 50 by the end of it. But we're doing great. I think we're the fastest rising faction in the past few weeks. I've been doing quite a lot of scalping on there, so that obviously helped with the volumes. And overall, the coin itself has been up almost like 70-80% or so since putting out my tweet about it. So it's doing good. Then mental, this has been very slow before, and now all of a sudden we finally got this breakout. So we retook the range, broke above this range high locally here, and now we're back into this upper part. So obviously level to watch is 140. This mostly moved on the back of, I think, Ben from Bybit, the CEO. He's joined the mental team together with someone else. So I do think Bybit is really going to stand behind this coin and make it more of their own. Always has been. I think if you convert your dust to a token on Bybit, it's to mental, for example. So it's basically the BNB of Bybit. So if they decide to do more of it on the exchange itself, I think that should really help and fuel this. Generally, it has always been strong. It's usually down when the rest of the market is up, and vice versa. So I think it's pretty controlled by a few bigger players that have been holding this, and generally just not a lot of coin swapping hands all the time. So far looking good. I think there's also a lot of volume from Korea, from the Upbit exchange. And looks decent here. Obviously might cool off a bit after this massive rally, but still holding a bit of this and looking for these range highs. PAAL has been ranging still. At some point I am also expecting this to really shoot up out of nowhere. If we were to get a range low sweep, might look to buy some more, but overall watching for this green zone at some point. And I mean, as we have seen by quite a few coins already, it can really do something like this in a matter of like 2 weeks. And that's what I'm looking for here. Wormhole has been strong, moving back to the range highs. Not too much going on here. Do eventually think we'll make it back here. AVAIL broke out of this falling wedge. Now really starting to curl up, and seeing how much this has sold off. Before, I think this was in anticipation of a big unlock, which has happened by now. I think once we start taking out some of these highs, I think this can really start accelerating pretty quickly. PENDLE has been doing well as well. Now has been making a higher low, so continuing this trend since the range sweep and retake. Really looking for these range highs at some point. Obviously, that's still quite a far move, but that does leave a lot of room for upside, I think. And obviously, if it were to break this, then we can start aiming for these highs up here. But let's take it one level at a time. SQD be mostly hanging around here. Their treasury vehicle has started buying. I think it's buying like 300k a day, which will go on for like nearly 2 months. Just started last week. So I think once we chew through the supply or the sellers that are around this area, then this 300k a day will really start mattering, and at some point start bringing this chart back up. But for now, it's holding where it should. Obviously, it ran up a lot earlier in the year, so at some point I am expecting this to start grinding back higher on the back of this treasury buying. Then we have Clearpool, which is finally showing some signs of life. This also has ranged down here for 5-6 months. Now testing this important resistance. If we were to break this, then the next levels up would be high up in the 20s and 30s. You can see a few candles like these can really get things going. And it takes one more of this, and you close back in the 20s, and it's going to look really, really great, I think. Coming from this very high time frame support, making its way back to the range highs, and then breaking should make for a nice base for the upside. And then lastly, we have CHEX. Also a nice reversal yesterday, and you can see like what I've been saying, you can undo weeks or months of downside in a single day. So this was up 43% in a day. Now at this resistance, we want to see 13.5 cents break, then we're back in this range and we can start aiming for higher. Then this would just be a massive deviation, and would make for a nice setup for our higher up. So with that said, BTC pretty much unchanged. I do think eventually this will keep trending higher, especially if stocks hold on, which I think they're looking fine still after the scare last week. But yeah, for now, mostly eyes on ETH. Might deviate back below here a bit. Might make some people scared. Get some early week flush out, but eventually, as long as this trend keeps going, like even if we make a higher low here, something like this should still be perfectly fine. It just delays the bigger move for a bit. That's why you should be careful with leverage, especially in moves like these. I think spot is perfectly fine in this scenario, also especially for these smaller coins we talked about. As you can see, you can get like 20, 30, 40% moves in a day. You really don't need leverage. You can just have a small bag, wait it out if you have conviction, and if the trend is going up, then it's usually just a matter of time before you get another big leg up again. Just make sure the coin at least has some narrative, or you have some conviction behind it and it's trending up, and it's not just bleeding lower and lower and lower. But for now, I think the sentiment towards alts is really appreciating, which is good. I do think also we'll see these Coinbase and Robinhood App Store rankings go up a lot. The moment ETH, well, it has broke its cycle highs, but if it's breaking its all-time highs, it should really accelerate things. Yeah, for now, I'm personally taking it slow, not in any active trades or like perpetual trades, just holding spot and just waiting this out. I think waiting for higher is generally the way to go in times like these. Eventually skill some out if you're up a lot on things, but also be patient, as yeah, I mean, you can see the total altcoin market cap has not even reached its 2024 highs. So I do think we'll take those out eventually, and that for now it's just going to be a matter of waiting. So with that said, I thank you all very much for watching. Wishing you all a good week ahead, and take care. Bye bye.